Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, my guest is a soul sister. We've been chatting and connecting. Her name is Lisa Tickel. Lisa is a survivor of childhood abuse, is dedicated to guiding others on their healing journeys. She's the host of the Healing and Growing Hand in Hand podcast and creator of the Women's Childhood Abuse Healing Workshop. Lisa empowers survivors with tools, support, and a community to transform their pain into healing. That's so beautiful, Lisa. I'm so happy to meet you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Lisa, what compelled you to start a podcast on trauma?
I wanted to have a voice, and I wanted to give others a place to have a voice. That was the kind of number one thing. The other part of it is so much of my healing journey I spent alone. There wasn't a lot of therapy out there. There wasn't a lot of stuff out there. And so I wanted to be able to give a platform where I could get information out there to people in trauma who have dealt with trauma to start their healing journey or go deeper into their healing journey, because I know as survivors tend to isolate ourselves and think things about ourselves that aren't true. And by bringing the podcast forward and bringing experts and other people telling their stories, it opens that door for other people that are beginning their healing journey to know you're not alone. You're not alone.
Is there a piece of your childhood trauma that you're comfortable with sharing today? And we're not looking for like Dr. Phil type of exposure to get graphic or detail, but is there a little piece that you feel comfortable in sharing for the audience?
I'm comfortable with sharing it. I can give you an idea of what my abuse was. So I had pretty much all the abuse except for sexual. And it started with my brother. He's 7 years older than me. And it started literally as far back as I can remember. That picture behind me, I'm like 3 years old, and I just don't remember my brother not being abusive. And at a young age for him, there was stuff that he went through. He started doing drugs at 12, 13 years old. So it took a child who was not very stable and made him even more unstable. And so what happened with the abuse, where it came from my parents, is as I became a young teenager, I actually started to put on weight. I put on weight because I was emotionally eating, and I was emotionally eating because I was being abused. None of this I was aware of. I knew I was aware of putting weight on. I didn't understand why. All of a sudden, I wasn't that pretty little girl for my mom anymore, and she couldn't dress me up and show me off. And so she got very abusive and was very hard on me about my weight, to the point where she told me she wouldn't buy me any more clothes until I lost weight. I had no idea how to lose weight. I didn't understand how I was putting weight on. And then, so I worked through that. And in my high school years, I got really very active. So the weight came off for a long time. But my teenage years were the worst. They were really the worst, with my brother, with my parents. And then at 16, I lost my mom. She passed away from cancer. And so that just sent me on another trajectory. I got no support from that. Basically, the adults in my life failed me my whole young years. But at 19, I didn't know what was going on inside of me. I just knew I didn't like the way I felt. So that's where I started my healing journey. I wanted to change whatever it was that was in me that made me feel the way I was feeling. And so that's when I started my healing journey, when I was 19. One message I'll share that really sent me on a wild goose chase for many years of my life was when I was about 11, my brother told me, and I believed him, that nobody liked me, that mom and dad's friends, like, they don't like you. And I just remember that devastating me, and I, without question, believed it. And so imagine an 11-year-old taking that into her adult life and really believing that nobody loved her. I was on a mission to find a man that was going to love me. And so that kind of sent me on this journey of, I found a man, and he had a lot of problems too. We spent a lot of years together, and it was not a good marriage. But I stuck it out because I He was the only man on the face of the earth that was going to love me. And so I had to work through that. I divorced him after 30 years together. And immediately I hadn't healed enough. I had done some healing, but I hadn't done enough. And that little message was still back there. So I had to quickly find another man to prove to me that I'm worthy. And so I jumped right into a narcissistic relationship, did not see it coming at all, and married him. And unfortunately, he passed away about a year and a half after we were married from cancer. And then I had to put the brakes on. And then I had to stop and look at what was going on with me. And that's when I
Yeah.
really began to do my deep healing.
Yeah. Thankfully, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I call
exactly.
that looking for love in all the wrong places. We are
Yeah,
so good at
it
that, aren't
affected
we?
all my relationships, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know from our prior discussion before recording that you do have some health challenges because of trauma. Do you want to maybe spend a couple minutes
Sure.
talking about that?
Yeah, I've had so many surgeries and there was so much shame around that for so many years. And I didn't understand for so many years why I was tearing things and having to constantly go into surgery. And what I realized is for most of my adult life, I lived in survival mode. And in survival mode, you are not engaged in your body at all. And I realized one of the things that was interesting that my ex-husband used to always say to me, he said it to me regularly. He would call me on my cell phone and I would pick it up and he'd say, "Gosh, did you just run to the phone?" And I said, "No, why?" He says, "You're like breathing like like you ran." And I thought that was really weird. What I realize now, looking back, is I walked around so tense and I wasn't breathing properly. Literally, it was just real short breaths. As a result of that, and because I didn't listen to my body when my body was telling me to slow down, I tore things up in my body. And I know it's real common for trauma survivors to have autoimmune disease or something along those lines. That's not my job, my problem. My problem is the physical. So I've had numerous back, shoulder, neck surgeries, knee surgeries, and it's interesting how so much of it is up here, which is where I carry so much of that tension. But I realized that for all those years in my survival mode, I was so tense, and that's why I wasn't breathing right. So that's something I still have to work on because it's not natural yet for me to, yeah, for me to just breathe.
I
Breathing is
forget.
huge for me, huge.
Yes. I'm like you my whole life. I only thought it was my neck, shoulders, and back, but as I got older, I would catch myself with my legs and feet tensing up.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? There's no reason for me to be in fight and flight right now, but it was just so automatic all the
It's
time.
just so automatic. And you know what's funny? This is recent that I realized how intense I am about that. We have two border collies and they're 3 years old, but about a year and a half ago, they like to lay on us in the evening, right? And my border collie, he would get so relaxed it would hurt me. And I'm like, what is that like to be so relaxed that you're just like completely dead weight? He was completely dead weight on me. Like I can't imagine doing that to somebody. I don't know what that's like to get that relaxed unless I'm asleep.
Yeah, meditation and mindfulness activities tend to be a little hard for us, but
Yeah.
we need them more.
Yes. It is so true. So true.
Yes. So tell me more about your healing journey. Like what really helped you? And it can be anything like physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. What really helped you get on a good path?
God. He was there. He's still. I've had a relationship with him as far back as I can remember. I don't remember when I met God, honestly, but I used to go to church when I was 5 years old by myself. I'd get on the little Sunday school bus and go by myself. He
Oh,
was a big part of it. There's so much of my intuition that comes from him and him speaking to me and being there for me. He was the only one that was there for me so many times. What in my recent years though, he's always there. My current husband is amazing. He's so patient with me. He's my normal and he's helped me find my voice, which was really important.
yes. He sounds incredible.
He is. He puts up with me.
I feel the same way about my husband. I too looked for love in all the wrong places. So I finally got it right. I finally listened to God more.
Yes. Yeah. For my second husband, God was telling me, don't talk to him. And I talked to him. Don't date him. I dated him. Don't marry him. I married him. And I paid the price.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some hard won lessons, though, things that are going to be more helpful in your healing journey because of that experience, is my guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had healed enough that when he started doing his shenanigans after I got married and moved in, I knew it was off. I didn't know it was narcissism, but I knew it was like, this is crazy. And I was actually planning on leaving him before he got sick. So his behavior was, and he didn't show any of that, of course, when we were dating.
Before I ask you more about the work you're doing, I'm a little curious about your mom. You mentioned she was abusive and then she passes away when you're so young. What was that like for you? Would you say that your grief was complicated because of that love hate? I use love hate. I
It
really
was
loved
late.
her.
It was.
Yeah,
I loved her, but I didn't like her because she
yeah.
was mean. You know, what was really shocking is I helped with her when she got sick, and I didn't know she was dying. They kept it from me. And
Mm.
I didn't find out she was actually dying until 3 days before she died when we rushed her to the hospital. They kept it from me. And so
Wow.
I'm thinking, I'm helping. I'm giving her shots of morphine. I'm helping with going grocery shopping. I'm helping with all this stuff. And I'm thinking she's going to get better. And then what's common with cancer patients is sometimes before they die, they get better. They appear to get better. She did. She appeared to get better. So I'm thinking, hey, mom's getting better finally. And then next thing I know, we're rushing her to the hospital and she passes. And it's like everybody in my life just scattered. And she had so many friends, and she was like the connection with the family. And when she died,
Mhm.
everybody scattered. And I remember sitting on my friend's bed thinking, whose mom dies at 16? Like, who does that? And just thinking, I guess I got to move on. And just, it took me years before I truly grieved, truly went through the grieving process. Years.
Yeah. It's so hard. It sounds like it was complicated on many different
It
levels. It's
was.
like because you didn't have a lot of time for closure, even.
No, I would have spent that time so different with her.
Yeah. I'm sorry they withheld you from that info. It's families are so mysterious and
I
dysfunctional, aren't they?
know. I know. And
So,
I found out many years later after my dad passed that the family friends had said to her, you need to talk to her. You need to tell her. You need, and I'm like, I really shouldn't be hearing this. I really shouldn't be hearing this. Like everybody knew but me.
yeah. How are you a mom?
Yes, I have a son.
How did your mom's parenting impact your parenting,
There's,
negatively and positively?
yeah, there's things I definitely did different. What I do realize, I even thought about not having children because I understood at a very young age that abuse can be passed down. But God blessed me with a beautiful son, and I was very committed to watching how I treated him and reacted to him. What I didn't realize until many years later is he lived in a home of strife. So even though he was not directly abused, he lived in a very strifeful home. Mom and dad argued, mom and dad screamed at each other. And even though at times I knew what I was doing, I couldn't stop myself. And so I had a conversation with my son just a few years ago and apologized for that when I realized what I had done. But there were definitely things I was very protective over my son. And I cut my brother off when the first time he tried to do something mean to my son, I cut him off and I would not allow him around my son anymore, period. So I was very protective in that area. I just didn't pay attention to how the energy I was bringing into the home.
And how did your son cope or heal from that?
He's still working on it. He and I have always been so close. And of course, his first reaction when I started to apologize to him was to try to console me. And I said, no, honey, this is for you. So he's working through it. He's been going through a lot the last couple of years, but it's some good stuff that he's going through.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's hard to talk about our mistakes in parenting. And the truth is,
Yeah.
we all make them. Some of us make a few more than we intend to, but
Yeah.
it sounds like you gave him a lot of love and support.
Yeah.
Great. Are you okay with switching gears and talking about your work?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm very curious about your workshop. Can you give us a little more details, like how many sessions and what are some of the topics covered?
So it is truly a healing workshop. So we don't sit around and just talk about our stories. We dive in the first night or the first day and start our healing journey. So it is a 6-week workshop. It's only women. It's a very small workshop. So we're only having about 10 women. And there's going to be a lot of teaching because what I have found, and I think as a therapist, you'll agree that understanding trauma becomes one of our superpowers. It really helps us a lot. And so we're going to be talking about like self-awareness and our triggers and what else? I just worked on the topics yesterday. There's other topics. I can't think of them right now. Yeah, I'll think of them in a minute. But yeah, so we'll be learning about trauma and how it affects us and how we can overcome it and how we can work through it and manage it in our life instead of it managing us. And then the beautiful thing is when you're done with the 6-week workshop, if you so choose to, you can move into our women's healing community. You can be there as long as you want. And that is going to be a support group. It's going to be where we teach more. It's going to be where you can connect with other women. It can be if you're having a hard time or you want to celebrate. It's just a place of getting a lot of support for those that have been through what we've been through. So you're not alone. The last thing I want women to feel like is they go through the workshop and then you're on your own. You need support. We need each other.
Yes, we do. And my next question is, have you written a book or are you thinking about writing a book?
I've had so many people ask me, and I'm just not at a place right now. I've got so
Hmm.
many things going on. I don't know if I will or not. If there's enough interest, I would. But right now, it's on the back burner.
Okay. I think that where your voice is unique is that physical body piece where you've had so many physical injuries and had surgeries on that. I know there's other women that have experienced that to some degree, but I don't know if they've made the connection to their
Yeah. Yeah.
trauma
And,
history.
and the only thing I can think of, and actually asked another expert why maybe I fortunately didn't go in that direction of getting an autoimmune, is I've always been so physical. I've always danced. I've done a lot of physical stuff, getting the physical part out. I don't know,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that other women should pay attention to that. If you've been through trauma and you are noticing that you're having a lot of surgeries, yeah, it definitely is connected.
Yeah. You know, a lot of surgeries are just a lot of physical mobility issues, right? Could be
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah, trauma in the physical body. I think I found 9 categories that it can wreak havoc from top of your head to the bottom of your
Ooh,
toes. So that's why it's such a large topic and why my next summit is about physical health.
I love that. I'm so glad you're doing that. So
Yeah,
important. That's just more tools for our toolbox.
absolutely. Okay, so you talked about God. And did the surgeries help you get better? Like,
Oh,
any
yeah.
regrets with the surgeries?
No,
No? Okay.
no. Yeah, they made a huge difference for me.
Okay, so God and the surgeries, what else was healing for you on your journey?
Oh, what else was healing? Doing all the research I'm doing on trauma, believe it or not. It sounds crazy, but as I've learned more about trauma, that has been really powerful for me. And here's
Mm-hmm.
why. So much of my shame comes from my behavior from the trauma. And as we understand, or as I understood where those behaviors came from, that it's not me, just a crazy woman, that it's really from the trauma, that's been empowering and has given me the ability to work through that. So I don't have those same actions or behaviors. To me, that has been huge in understanding trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said 2 really important things. Like, one is how important community is for our healing. So we know we're not alone, but also knowledge is power. So the
Mhm.
more we learn, and oh, that's the reason I do X. That's the reason
Exactly.
I've been overeating, you know,
Exactly. Because you're
it's
doing
all
this stuff and
connected.
you're thinking, why? I can even sit there and go, I know I shouldn't be doing this. Why am I doing this? Now you know
Mhm.
why. And all of a sudden it doesn't have that grip on you anymore.
Yeah. It's nice to have explanations to our behavior.
Exactly. So true. That was liberating for me for sure.
Yeah. And I tell the woman I work with, okay, now that we know, we have to like work on accountability and responsibility because even though we didn't cause our trauma, we are still responsible for our healing because nobody else can do our healing for us.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's actually an empowering thing.
Oh, I agree with that. It's hard work, but
It is.
empowering. Yeah. All right. So let's start wrapping up. Lisa, there's someone in our audience listening to this, and they are feeling pretty hopeless. A lot of things have gone wrong. Maybe they're been in the wrong relationships. They feel pretty beaten down. What's a message of hope that you can give to them today?
I am nobody special. And I have a beautiful life right now. And it's not because I'm special, it's because I dug in and did the hard work. And that's the same opportunity for anybody else. And everybody else deserves to have a good life, even though in your head you may be thinking you don't deserve it because you have been beat down. It's not true. And there is hope for you, and you deserve to have a good life. And just take that first step to get your healing going.
Amen. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.